Shocking exchange. Reaction to an undercover probe of the harvesting of body parts from aborted babies. Addressing critics. The president attempts to counter criticism of the nuclear deal with Iran. The Great Escape. We take you inside the elaborately planned tunnel used to... Good evening from Washington.
I'm Brian.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Now, a pro-life group claims its undercover video shows Planned Parenthood affiliates harvest and sell body parts of aborted babies. Today, members of Congress call for an investigation, and Jason Calvi has the story.
Brian, Speaker Boehner is calling for Congress to investigate if Planned Parenthood is selling organs. It comes one day after the release of that video. It's gone viral with over 1 million hits. But I must warn you, the content is disturbing.
Pro-lifers rally at the Capitol today. Defund Planned Parenthood! A call echoed by presidential contender Ted Cruz.
If you remain silent, if you support, as so many congressional Democrats do, the continued taxpayer funding of Planned Parenthood, then you are complicit in this barbaric practice.
He's speaking of this video featuring Planned Parenthood Federation of America's Senior Director of Medical Services.
I'd say a lot of people want liver.
Pro-life activists posed as potential buyers of fetal tissues.
The $30 to $100 price, that's per specimen that we're talking about, right? Yeah.
The explosive video has sparked a fierce debate. Planned Parenthood says they help women donate fetal organs for scientific research, and the video was heavily edited. But the group behind the video says they posted the complete unedited version online.
We had a 3-hour-long conversation that we needed to condense into something smaller. So there's a lot of other things in the full footage that really don't help Planned Parenthood's case.
Daleiden investigated Planned Parenthood for nearly 3 years.
We attended multiple top-level Planned Parenthood and abortion industry meetings. We networked and had business lunch meetings with multiple top-level Planned Parenthood executives.
His work is now a rallying point for pro-life advocates who are shocked by the video.
It's just terrible how they're using these women to profit from their dead children.
Selling human fetal organs is against the law, but donating tissue is allowed if the mother consents. 2 House committees are already investigating: Energy and Commerce and the Judiciary Committee. Brian?
Thank you, Jason. And we will talk more about that undercover video with David Daleiden from the Center for Medical Progress tomorrow night. Lila Rose, president of Live Action, joining us. So, Lila, Planned Parenthood says these harvested parts are donated, which is legal. What's the issue?
They're not donated, they're sold, Brian. And Planned Parenthood does businesses with for-profits like STEM Express in California, which is actually set up as a for-profit. They thought they were doing with a LLC, which is for-profit in the state of California. They're talking not about donations, but transactions of $30 to $100 per piece. And that's on the low end. This is money that they're making, and they're talking about legitimizing what they're doing further amongst other clinics and affiliates in order to spread the practice.
And what about these parents who are consenting to this process?
Well, first of all, keep in mind, we're talking about parents and children. Children that are being torn apart, limb from limb, dismembered in utero, or moved around and manipulated in utero. And the abortionist in the video, the Planned Parenthood director, actually talks about how she has to manipulate the child to get a good liver intact, or a lung, or a heart. And that in and of itself is illegal, because even if a woman who's in the horrible situation of choosing to have an abortion is going in there and saying, I'm going to write off my rights, she's not giving them the permission to manipulate the abortion procedure so that they have a better product at the end to sell a piece of that child that they just killed.
And that conversation is so shocking. Does Planned Parenthood profit from this?
Absolutely. I mean, keep in mind that there are over 320,000 abortions every year done by Planned Parenthood. If they can just get 10% of those abortions, that they can sell parts from that, we're talking about millions of dollars. There's an industry, and all sides of it the government is funding. They fund Planned Parenthood over $500 million a year. They fund the research industry that is purchasing these parts, and there's funding Planned Parenthood's ability to make money off of the sale of the abortion, and then to make money off of the sale of the parts of that child that they just killed.
We're hearing criticism of this undercover strategy. Your Live Action has led the way in undercover investigations of the abortion industry. Why go undercover?
Well, I mean, if you call Planned Parenthood's PR hotline or you look up their 990, their public documents, they're not going to admit to what they're doing. The sexual abuse cover-up of minors, the selling and trafficking of the parts of children that they've killed. They're not going to admit to that. It's necessary to go in there, to get the footage, and to release it to the public because people deserve to know. Our children deserve to have their stories told. Each one of these children dismembered, they deserve their story told, and that's what this footage is doing.
It's a shocking story, but it's an effective way to tell it. And finally, tell us about the petition to defund Planned Parenthood.
Of course. This is very exciting, Brian, because we're seeing, again, more and more momentum around the call to get taxpayer funding out of the abortion industry. We spend over $1.4 million a day as taxpayers. We have a petition up at PlannedParenthoodExposed.com. It's at over 91,000. We need to get it to 100,000, and we're taking it to Congress. Investigating the abortion industry, like Congress has pledged to do today, is great, but we need to completely shut down the funding of the abortion industry so that taxpayers are no longer forced to support this barbaric activity.
Lila Rose with Live Action. Thanks for being with us.
Today is a nightmare for the city of Chattanooga. Around 11 o'clock this morning, we had someone viciously attack at 2 different locations people who proudly serve our country.
The suspect, believed to be the lone gunman, was also killed. A soldier and police officer were wounded in the attack.
Well, I had gotten a call about 5 minutes after the shooting had taken place, and I just understood that someone drove by, shot all through the windows of all the recruiting offices. So we went inside, and the place was like something on TV. Furniture shot up, TVs, walls, bullet holes all in them.
On the U.S. Senate floor here in Washington, both senators from Tennessee expressed sorrow and offered prayers.
My thoughts and prayers are with all those involved.
Senator Bob Corker, the former mayor of Chattanooga, added his prayers. And of course, the other big story we continue following is the building momentum to defund Planned Parenthood. This after a shocking undercover video implicates the abortion provider in harvesting and selling of organs from aborted babies. David Daleiden is behind the undercover video that everybody's talking about. He joins us from our EWTN West Coast studio in Garden Grove, California. David, what do you think is the most damaging aspect of this video to Planned Parenthood?
You know, I think there's 3 main admissions in the video that are the most significant from their senior director of medical services. The first is that Planned Parenthood is charging per specimen, that's per baby body part, for the fetal tissue harvesting. The second is that they're using illegal partial birth abortions in order to get more intact baby parts for resale. And then the third is that there's knowledge and approval of their fetal tissue supply from the very top levels of the organization on down.
The fact that we all heard this conversation and how casual the tone was, doesn't that hurt Planned Parenthood's credibility, even with supporters?
I think if you look at the comments on the YouTube video, the comments on the different articles, I think you can see that a lot of people are questioning the image that they had of Planned Parenthood before this video came out.
Parenthood claims that it was heavily edited. How do you respond to that?
You know, the original footage of the full conversation has been on our YouTube channel since the very beginning, so everyone's free to look at that and compare the shorter summary that we created that just really shows the highlights.
We haven't seen a whole lot of you in the mainstream media. Have you been approached by news organizations for your side of this story?
Definitely. There was certainly on the first day, it was a little slow for them to pick it up. It took a while for them to come around to the fact that it was a real story, but those requests are definitely starting to pick up as they realize it's a video with 2 million views now, and it's a significant news story.
So we're very curious as to how long this investigation took, and now that you're not undercover anymore, what happens next? We'll talk about that next time with you. David Daleiden, thanks for joining us from our EWTN West Coast studio in Garden Grove, California.
Thanks for having me.
And Congress is investigating the allegations raised in that video. An outspoken voice on the issue is Alabama Representative Martha Roby. She is co-sponsoring a bill to defund Planned Parenthood. Jason Calvi met with her in her office this morning.
You know, it's worth noting that this is also an organization that doesn't believe that a baby is life, yet the organs are fit for harvesting. This is disgusting. Who are we as a country that we've gotten to a point where we can be so callous about babies? And it just struck me, you know, the words that she used when she talked about, having to crush the baby in a specific way in order to preserve the organs. It just is disgusting.
You've called for the investigation. The House, several committees are investigating. Do you think any good can come from these investigations?
We need to be looking at whether or not Planned Parenthood violated the law. I believe that they have, but of course we've got to get to the facts, which is why it's necessary to have this investigation.
But they say this is just reimbursement for transportation.
Then why the variation of cost? Does a baby's liver cost more to transport than a baby's heart or a baby's head? They've got a lot of explaining to do. My understanding is that they had a menu basically for the baby's organs and body parts that were being charged different amounts. That doesn't add up to the cost of transporting these precious babies' organs from place to place. So again, all the more reason for them to have to explain exactly what they're doing.